Back again. All right. These are basically the components that we'll work with. This is the light, this is the darker side, and then this is a larger, wider piece that I made from the larger diameter. So I just cut off a piece. This is how much I've got of that. That's all. Now, even though we only have these 3 pieces, we actually use them in a way as if we had 6, because particularly this piece can be turned light to dark. Sometimes you assemble it with the dark down and the light up. You'll see. Okay, so I'm starting with the light, and I'm going to cut and make this 4 inches. Okay, so that's the first piece. Now, the way this comes together is that you take the next piece and you actually position it on the first, but you butt the base together. You don't, like so. And let me cut a piece and show you what it should look like from the side at this point. You can see the base of this one is right up against the end of that first piece. If you relax it too much, it turns into this. All right, I'm not saying that's wrong, but that's what will happen. It's not exactly the same kind of look. So I always concentrate and try very hard to get this edge up against this edge. Like so. Okay, I think that should be clear. Then cut. And then push this edge right up against your work surface. Now, one thing about the wrap, when you're wrapping around, it's really helpful to have very soft clay. Okay, so this time I'm going to take and I'm going to put the light edge down against my work surface at the base of the feather. This may seem a little fussy at this point, all this concentration on this, but it makes another step a little bit easier. So, all right, now I want a split right there, a wider split, kind of like this. So to make that, I'm just going to take a sheet of my background color, and I don't want it to be a very wide split at this point, so this is rolled through setting number 2. If I had rolled it through the thickest setting of the pasta machine and I put it in, it would split quite a bit more. All right, I'm going to take and angle my blade and cut to my work surface, like so. Soften that edge a bit. And now let's take and position this piece not completely at the base, a little bit up from it. And I'm just going to cut the excess away because I cannot see. And I cut carefully because I don't want to cut all the way through the cane. Okay, now this is what I've done. I've just inserted this area of black. You can see it doesn't go all the way to the base. Once again, that's not a rule, it's just that that's what I did. This time I'm taking the dark and putting it at the base. Now, when you do this, I have to confess, I don't think a lot about it. I just flip them back and forth. Okay. Now, at this point, I'm going to take my little brass rod and I'm going to kind of gently pull the top over like this so that this particular piece is a little more pointed in appearance rather than blunt. Okay, let's do that again. Now I am mirror imaging this feather. In other words, this is going to be cut in half and the two halves are going to be brought together. So if you wanted to make a feather where the patterning, the splits in the pattern are different, you see this is a mirror image. Exactly where there's a split on this side, there's a split on this side. So you could build two separate halves and put them together if you wanted a little more variation in the actual pattern from one side to the other. Okay, let's put one more in. And then I'm going to insert another split. And I'll stick with the same setting, setting number 2. Make that steep cut, not steep, shallow cut, actually. This time I'm going to take the black and put it all the way to the base. Once again, you know, it's a very random process, so you don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. You may find that you want to do things a little differently, and you know what, that's fine. I think this is a very forgiving cane. Okay, let's see what we have now. I can't keep cutting pieces. We'll have no cane at the end. All right, so there's the split again. All right, now I'm going to go to the second color. You know, I kind of forgot I even had this. That's terrible. That is terrible. Okay, so let's insert some of this darker pattern. You know what? I'm going to measure this out, and I want this more pointy. And this action does soften it and changes it from a blunt edge, but it doesn't make it pointy. So I'll just roll along one edge with my little brass rod. Now, as you build, you may find that you lose the angle. You start to lose, actually, see how it's becoming much more vertical here. So I'm going to push it this way, like this, so that I restore an angle so I can finish building my cane. Now I'm going to take another dark piece. Let's see, do I want that? Yep. Now, one thing about this particular Skinner blend I made, there isn't that much contrast between these colors. So if I make this again using these colors, I'm going to make the light half bigger. In other words, at that first point where I split it, remember when I split it into the dark and the light before I rolled the cylinders? And I'll show you why. Because there's so little contrast between the two sides, you see? And if I had more white, I would have more contrast. Now, of course, the other half would have even less of the blue, but I still think it might be better because the base of this feather is going to be primarily that blue color. And maybe the first time you make this cane, you might actually consider using colors with a great deal more contrast than I have chosen. Okay, I am going to put another little wedge in. Okay, so that's not bad. If I keep cutting, I won't have any cane left to build with, but that's okay. All right, so let's insert the long one. We're kind of at the end of the cane build. It's not going to be a long, skinny feather. It's going to be a rather short, sturdy feather. Okay, now, I think I want this one, and I'm going to pick up the whole thing. I think I want this piece to kind of go off in another direction, like so. So I have to build clay into this space, and then I have to build clay around this side. So building up this space is just a matter of taking another tapering piece of clay. This time it's going to be thicker. So this has been rolled through the thickest setting of my pasta machine. And it still might not be quite, oops, I got something in it. I think I know what. So I have to take a fresh piece of black clay. Okay, well, let's try it. I have a feeling that this sheet is too thin. I think I'll bend it back this way. Yeah, that's a better strategy. Bend it back and insert another piece to fill that gap. Okay, Okay, I think that's going to work. Now I will fill this space in here. Then I'm going to put another long piece here, but I want it separated. So I'll show you that part and then break. Okay, now this is where I have to do some careful cutting. I have to cut all the way down there. Maybe I did it backwards. Let me take it off, because I think I did. Yep, I did it backwards. All right. Silly me. Okay, better. I fixed it. I fixed it. Okay. Now let's take another long piece. Just use my fingers this time. Ooh, is that a shorty? Huh. No, this is a long one. Okay, I'm just going to use this one. Where did that long piece go? Well, okay. It's okay. Actually, that long piece might be this. So be careful. Okay, so there's my feather. I'm going to stop here and prepare for the next part. But, yeah, there we are.